Here are 5 things that you need to know about the penalties that you'll face if you're convicted of driving with a suspended license in Ontario. First, where can you find the penalties? Well, the penalties are listed in the Highway Traffic Act of Ontario under section 53(1). I've included a link in the video description to these penalties so you can read them for yourself. Second, here are the penalties. Now, if you're convicted of driving with a suspended license in Ontario, you're going to be subject to multiple penalties, and here they are. First, a 6-month driving suspension. On conviction, your driver's license will automatically be suspended for a period of 6 months. This 6-month suspension is actually mandatory. It's written into the law. This means that you can't negotiate your way out of the 6-month suspension if you're convicted. Now, if your license is currently suspended, your 6-month suspension will only start after you fix the original problem that suspended your license. So for example, if you have unpaid fines and you get convicted of driving with a suspended license, your 6-month driving suspension will only start after you paid your existing fines in full. So it may take, for example, if it takes you 3 months to fix your current license suspension, then your 6-month suspension will only start on month 4. Fines. Fines start at $1,000 and they go all the way up to $5,000. And the Ontario government will add another 25% on top of the fine for what's called a victim fine surcharge. So you're effectively facing fines that start at $1,250 all the way up to $6,250. And generally the courts will give you time to pay. And in some cases, you may be able to have up to a year to pay these fines. Probation. You may be subject to a probation order that may last for up to 2 years. Generally, these probation orders state that if you commit the offense again, in other words, if you're convicted with driving with a suspended license during this probation period, then in addition to the penalties that you'll face for driving under suspension, you'll also face additional penalties for breaching your probation. And a probation breach is serious. It includes both fines and potential jail time, which leads to jail. For driving with a suspended license, you can go to jail for up to 6 months on each conviction. And even though driving with a suspended license is not a criminal charge, the lawmakers decided to add jail as a penalty, given that they want to send a strong message that driving with a suspended license won't be tolerated. Third, these penalties are not fixed, they're a range. So other than the 6-month driving suspension, which is mandatory, the other elements of the penalty are all ranges. So fines that go from $1,000 up to $5,000, or probation up to 2 years, or jail up to 6 months. And the reason why has to do with flexibility. The lawmakers really wanted to give the court system a toolbox of penalties to be applied to different situations. So the worse the circumstances are surrounding your offense, the worse your penalties will be. Fourth, who decides on the penalty? Ultimately, it's the justice of the peace who's the final decision maker on the penalty, and let me explain. There are 3 key people in a driving while suspended license court case. First is you're the defendant, you've been charged with driving with a suspended license. Second is the prosecutor, that's the person who works for the government, and their job is to convict you on driving with a suspended license charge. And third is the justice of the peace. This person's like a referee. They're not on your side. They're not on the side of the prosecutor. They're there to make sure that all the rules are followed. And the justice of the peace is also the final decision maker when it comes to penalties. So while the prosecutor will make a recommendation as to what a penalty should be, it's really the justice of peace who's the final decision maker about your penalty. 5, what factors go into making a decision on penalty? Now, there are general guidelines that a justice of the peace will follow when applying penalties for driving with a suspended license. Generally, the more serious the circumstances are, the worse the penalty will be. Some of the important factors that will be considered when your penalties are being decided include how many prior convictions you have for driving with a suspended license within 5 years of your current charge, whether there was an accident associated with the charge, and if there was, what was the extent of the damages and whether anyone was hurt, as well, how were the interactions with the police officer at the time of the offense. Now, as a next step, you should watch our video what happens when you go to court for driving on a suspended license charge in Ontario. You can click on the video here. There's lots of great info in there, and you can find the video again on the left side of your screen. Finally, if you have any questions, reach out.